Hi, Heather.
Hi.
It's been a minute since we've had a little video. I don't even know if we did one after the alumni gathering or not. Do you
No, we
remember?
didn't. No, because I kept
No.
thinking we should. Like we talked about doing
Uh-huh.
one there, but then it was so full and busy and
So full.
and and so we didn't do one there. And then I wanted to do one after, but things just lifed
Life.
and we just
Life just
didn't get to
lifed.
it. And I had some like yeah, and then last week I was away for a bit and stuff. So
Yeah. And then you're going
yeah.
away next week. So we kind of got to
Well, this
squeeze
week,
this in.
tomorrow.
This week. Oh yeah, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh man. See, I don't even know what day it is anymore. Um, Anyway, we had such a lovely time at the alumni gathering. You did a whole write-up
Amazing.
about it, so we won't
Yeah,
rehash that too much. We'll maybe include a link in this video
sure.
if you
Yeah.
so people can read it. But yeah, it was such a lovely time.
Yeah.
Just man, talk about feeling loved on, hey? Like that was pretty cool.
Yeah, our community really showed up and showed up as a collective, as a
Yeah.
really meaningful collective, really co-leading, co-creating,
Oh my gosh.
co-facilitating, all the things,
All
co-loving.
the
Like it
things.
just felt like this is what community is meant to be
Yeah,
is people showing, and we talk a lot the circle way work. We bring in the language of a leader in every chair, and I think we really exemplified that at the gathering. It felt
very
really, yeah,
much.
really meaningful.
Yeah, I think what sort of struck me the most was that yeah, we talk a lot about wanting to have this work be held beyond just us. And as much as I felt that they celebrated the work you and I have done, it really did feel like a celebration of what we have all brought to the work of holding space, which
Yeah,
was yeah, I felt like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
we actually did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an internet. There were people from 9 countries, I think,
Oh my
and
gosh.
really an international collective, still relatively small, but a really committed collective that's
Yeah,
dreaming new ways of being
yeah,
into the ethos, I guess.
totally.
Yeah, it felt really,
Yeah.
really powerful.
Very. Yeah, we get to meet with them again this afternoon. We're gonna have a follow-up call with
Yeah.
everybody that we're not even running. We just get to show up again, which is amazing. So the collective feeling definitely lives on there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And in the meantime, we are prepping to start the How to Hold Space Foundation program. We're going to get that running next week. If you missed the email that came out, we've bumped it a week just to give a little more time for people to register. So if you haven't yet, please do, especially for the first two modules. I think they're probably kind of the foundation of holding space work, how to hold space for others and how to hold space for yourself. We're offering 50% off both of those modules. So yeah, never been a better time to sign up for sure. Definitely looking forward to getting that running.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we're sort of just before we got on, we were yakking a little bit about some of the No Kings protests that have been happening, especially in the US. And I think in Canada they were called No Tyrants protests because
Oh, were they?
we technically still have a king, so we kind of can't
Yeah.
say no kings when we have one. So no tyrants, I think, was the line that some folks were using. But it started me thinking a little bit about um yeah, what comes after that, right? Like, yes, we've sort of come to this agreement that we don't want a king or we don't want a tyrant, we don't want an authoritarian, but what, right? But what replaces that? And what I was sort of ahaing about, excuse me, was our grounded guide concept that we've been working on. So maybe I'll toss it to you. Talk a little bit about what you think yeah, what it could look like maybe potentially if we leaned into the concept of a grounded guide as folks who were leading us
Mhm.
on, yeah, on heck, maybe even international scales. Wouldn't that be a dream come true?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's this, if we are persistently defining things by what they are not, it's not it's not grounded. Like it doesn't last. It tends to be like, or it can turn toxic, right? It can
Mhm.
become just proving that you are not something rather than
Yeah.
growing into something that you can become.
Yeah.
Does that kind of sound?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things are coming up, and one of them is I just wrote a post about grounded activism just before the No
Right.
Kings protest. I talked about, and it was sort of inspired by seeing the movie One Battle After Another with
Yeah,
Leonardo
right.
DiCaprio, in which he plays a really like drug addicted, washed up revolutionary, but he committed to the revolution and he was very very strong on it, but it was a really violent form of revolution. So it was really returning the same thing to the people who you're fighting against. You know, it's
Right.
using the master's tools to dismantle the master's house kind
Right.
of thing. And what I said in that post is that to truly transform a system, you need to be different from the system. You need to create an alternative to the system, but you also need to be grounded in spirituality, in a relationship, a kinship with the earth, in trauma healing. You have to do that work. I think all of those things are really critical to being something other than what you're fighting against.
Yeah.
And I think we see that again and again is that in the fighting against something, you become the thing to some degree. And
Hmm.
I know, having read books about even places like the Middle East where they had the Arab Spring,
Right.
that within a few years it was almost the same thing, that the people that fought against it to overturn something end up becoming that thing. They become corrupt, and I don't know all the politics there, but they become the corrupt leader that they were
Right.
trying to overthrow. And I think what that is if you're lacking the not just, I mean, these people have passion for justice and they're committed to the cause, but it takes more
Sure.
than that. Like it takes really rooting yourself in a sense of spirituality, as I call it, and that's a fairly broad term, but a sense of
Yeah.
being connected and rooted into something deeper than yourself and deeper than and that comes in community and it comes in kinship with the earth and it comes from that what we call groundedness in
Hmm.
those places. And one of the things, and I bring this in a lot to our grounded guide programs, is talking about how you have to be able to see yourself and witness yourself, experience yourself as part of the ecosystem and
Hmm.
not above or set apart from the ecosystem. And I really do believe that that's one of our big fractures in our humanity when we lost
Yeah.
some of our humanity when we started building systems that were capitalist, patriarchal, etc. It was when we separated ourselves from nature and became, and some of that is rooted in our Christian worldview. Some of
Yeah.
it's religious, it's economical, it's all the things political, all those belief systems that separated us and made us better than, turned us into extractors instead of
Hmm.
participants. And so some of it has to be rooted in that. That's one of my strong beliefs that's really growing. And like I would say, it's the more I enter into this kind of reflection, the deeper I believe this to be true, is that unless we are grounded in that way, we will perpetuate the same thing over and over again. We will, recreate some version of patriarchy and
Yeah.
capitalism endlessly unless we divest ourselves of some of those things and really radically confront our belief systems and the programming we have running underneath us. If we don't face those things, and some of what you and I talk about is changing belief systems, and we talk
Yeah.
about that in our Grounded Guide program about how you have to face your own um, what things brought you to this moment and where are your beliefs rooted in terms of capitalism, etc. And then you have to deconstruct and face your own cognitive dissonance about these belief systems in order to begin to imagine something different. And you have to grieve what you're losing in that, because if
Yeah.
we let go, if we are really in a post-capitalist era, we have to let go. We got to grieve a lot of things. We have to let go of a lot of
Yeah.
attachment to material goods and to a form of capitalism, form of all of that has to happen, and that's transformative. That's, when you think about the going back to the talking about connection to the earth, I mean, we've got
Hmm.
to regenerate the soil in order to grow
Yeah,
new things, which is disruptive, and it takes a certain kind of leadership, a certain kind of capacity. And this is where we bring in our practice of holding space, is how do you hold space for that kind of liminality and disruption for something new to evolve.
for sure. And within that liminality and disruption, like coping with the feelings of shame and guilt that come with some of that. Because I know, even when I first started my, beginning to understand my whiteness and my privilege and all that sort of stuff, like the feelings of guilt and shame that it brings up are, ooh, like they can
Yeah,
floor you to like being incapable of doing anything.
yeah,
But even with nature, I remember going for a walk not that long ago and just wanting to sob the whole time because I'm like, I have participated in harming you so much. What right do I even have to be out here and enjoying this, right?
yeah,
When
yeah,
I have contributed to so many systems that have caused harm, right? So I think some of it too is just wanting to avoid those intense feelings of shame and guilt over the harm that has been done, the moral injury,
yeah,
um, which is another thing that you and I have been yakking about a little bit too. Like, how do you grapple with the feeling of moral injury when you know that you have participated in causing harm?
yeah,
Um, and that's, oh, it's a tough one. And I don't know that we have really good ways of talking about it yet, which is, I
yeah,
think what we're trying to do at the center is create some spaces to be able to have those conversations and hold all of that,
yeah,
those intense feelings without judgment. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's a thing. It's a real thing. And also it's not going to kill you.
yeah.
And you can move on from it, or you can learn to live with it or be
Yeah,
better.
because there is the moving through it, and I think
Yes.
you said without judgment, but I think also we need strong containers, because
Yes.
that's going to bring up when I have to face the moral injury of what we humanity has done to the planet, what
Yeah.
white people have done to people of color and indigenous people, what
Yeah.
settlers have done in our country and in North America
Yeah.
in general. All of those realizations, like you say, are confronting and bring
Yeah.
up shame, etc. And then we also
Yes.
can't stay stuck in them. We can't stay in the
Exactly.
shame, because
Yeah.
then that's not building anything better. That's not.
No.
So we have to also be prepared and equipped to move beyond that into celebrating our humanity and
Yes.
celebrating that we are loved and we are capable of love and we can contribute to the
Yes.
ecosystem and we can have relationships across differences in new and deeper and more intentional ways. We can move through the shame and and we can do our repairs. I mean, that all of that is necessary. And
Yes.
then, and this is something that's really feeling powerful for me, is like we can re-embed ourselves into the ecosystems. And
Yes.
just there's some really simple ways that I've been learning to do that since I moved onto Vancouver Island. One of the things I've really become passionate about is the salmon ecosystem, how salmon are so
Yes.
connected to so many different beings, both in the ocean and on land. Like, there are some forests, old growth forests, that 80% of their nutrients come from salmon. Like, the dead bodies of salmon
Wild.
are feeding the trees, and they're feeding the bears and the eagles and the whales out in the ocean. And so
Yeah.
we need the salmon numbers to go up to feed all this ecosystem. And when I started researching this, I looked online, and almost every diagram for the salmon ecosystem that I could find, I think maybe even every one. I don't know that I found one that had a human being pictured in the ecosystem. It was like we were
Interesting.
wiped out of the entire we didn't play a role. And meanwhile, we are causing the most harm to salmon.
Yeah.
But we've drawn this picture where we're outside. We're just the
Yeah.
extractors and the exploiters, but what we're not embedded in the ecosystem. And so
Mm.
one of the really simple ways that I'm re-entering that ecosystem, and I spent my Saturday 5 hours out in the rain counting salmon because what I'm
Counting
contributing,
salmon.
there's a local project here that moves the salmon from just where the ocean enters the
Hmm.
stream up above a few waterfalls to some spawning grounds so they have access to spawning grounds. And they're doing this because another stream nearby was threatened because of road building. And a lot of the streams here have become threatened by dams, road building, construction of towns, etc. We
Yeah.
block off the streams. Salmon don't have enough access to streams. In this case, there was a waterfall that was in the way, and people decided if we can get the salmon up this hill, they'll have access to spawning grounds. So there are like dozens of people by hand moving these salmon up the hill. And I was the person doing all the counting this weekend. And so for 5 hours in the rain, I was counting salmon. We moved 1,200 salmon. And it feels, can't even tell you at the end of the day how meaningful it feels to really truly be a contributing member to that ecosystem. And I think that those are the little ways and people I'm not I've never been a big gardener, but I have friends who are really passionate about
Yeah.
growing a really beautiful ecosystem in their yards and rewilding their property or doing things that contribute to bringing more birds or butterflies or planting wildflowers or those are ways that we
Yeah.
can actively engage in the ecosystem where we live that has a much bigger impact because the thing is in doing this I'm now in the local human ecosystem too because I'm on text change with the we call ourselves the coho counters. We're now this little club of people that show up to count the salmon, and it
Count the
just
salmon.
it's building community for me,
Hmm.
and it's rearranging my own kind of way of being on the land and being part of the local system. And so that's part of what it means to be a grounded guide is how can you
Yeah.
live within your ecosystem so that you're grounded in that, you're connected to that, you love it, you know it loves you back. And that's something Robin Wall Kimmerer said is like, how can we live as though not only we love the earth, but we trust that the earth loves us back? That's going to change the way we show up as leaders. And I know people
Hmm.
can, write this off as, oh, that's just earth loving stuff. But no, that's the stuff that actually changes how you show up in politics, how you show up in community leaders, how you show up as a church leader. If you see yourself that way, it's going to change the way that you lead everything.
Yeah, well, and as you're speaking, I think I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we have extracted ourselves from those charts, those ecosystem charts. But by doing that, it also then severs our connection to each other because then it almost gives us permission to do that within our own little, cultural
Exactly.
class pockets,
Yeah.
right? So if you were
Yeah.
going, yeah, it's basically starting over again, right? Like reconnect yourself to the ecosystem and thereby you will, whether you mean to or not,
Yeah.
reconnect yourself with people, with humans as well,
Yeah.
right? Like it's sort of this great equalizer to some extent.
Yeah.
So
And it's
yeah, so
like
your assignment is, everybody, find an ecosystem drawing and put yourself in it.
yeah, exactly. It's like we talk a lot about mycelium, but it's like
Yes.
re-threading yourself into the mycelium of
Yes.
the soil. It's like we have pulled ourselves, uprooted ourselves
Yeah.
in so many ways
Yeah.
as human beings. Somehow we have to reroute, and it's not going to be moving salmon for everybody because not everybody lives in the Pacific Northwest. But there's some way that you can reroute yourself
Hmm.
into a local ecosystem and an online ecosystem too. It's all the ways
Totally. Yep.
reroute yourself so that you can feel that grounding so that when it's your turn to lead, you're going to lead differently from that place. And imagine if we had all of our politicians were doing, I want to invite every local politician to come help move
Yeah,
sand. Like
totally.
if everybody was leading from that place, it would change us. We wouldn't have to have no king's protests because we would
Yeah,
know how to be different.
totally. Totally. Yeah, yeah, it's exciting to think about for sure. I love it. I love it. So yeah, so we have things coming up. How to Hold Space Foundation programs coming up. It is sort of part and parcel of what we're calling the Grounded Guide experience here at the center. It's a good entry point for sure. We have 2 webinars left of the Leadership for Liminal Spaces program. A webinar 9 comes up at the end of November. No, October.
No,
What month are
October. I
we
think
in?
it's actually like
October,
next week or
next week.
something. It's very soon.
Listen,
Yeah.
October is a bananas month. So is September. Forgive us for being a little all over the place. Uh, and then, yeah, so then webinar 10 will happen at the end of November. And then we are trying to figure out whether it's going to look the same or if we're going to tweak it for the new year. So stay tuned for more information on that. In the meantime, the webinars we have done are all available for purchase. They're $50 a pop. You're welcome to go online and purchase them at any time so you can watch through them. It's a great series. Yeah, anything else before we stop yakking people's ear off here?
No, I think that's probably good enough to hit the pause button until next time.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging in with us. We had a little bit of a longer coffee break this time. We hope you don't mind. Good for
Yeah, we
everybody.
can get going on some of these topics, get passionate about.
100%. All right. With any luck, we'll be back next week. And if not, we'll see you when we see you.